Matriarchs, the place where moms come to laugh, cry, and secretly admit that we are not okay watching our babies grow up. Today, we're talking about something nobody warned us about. That moment when you realize you're not holding a toddler's hand anymore. You're holding your breath while she makes her own decisions.
This is such a interesting topic, I feel like, for all moms that, you just don't ever want your baby to grow up. And it's so hard to watch them go from that toddler into the big, big girl and can't control every little thing anymore.
The stage is different, but just as I was telling you the other day, there comes an age, and for me, for all my girls, it was like around 12 to 13 that it was like a hard reality check of, oh my gosh, my kids don't need me as much as they used to. They're so much more independent. And they get to this level of independence as teenagers where you even have to evaluate what you say to them so you don't irritate them. And so suddenly the whole dynamic changes, and you go from, these babies and toddlers and young girls that are so fun to talk to, and not that they're not as teenagers, they are, but they have these moments where it's like everything you say is wrong. It just changes the whole dynamic, and it's like such a reality check. And then it happens again, or it did for me anyway, when they're getting ready to, leave the house. And it's just something that I really don't think people prepare you for.
Yeah. I remember you talking about, I won't mention any names, but one of your current babies right now, how independent she is, but then at the same time, how she wants you to be there and be around and always be with her doing the things, like taking her to the school functions and, her practices and stuff like that, more so kind of than she wants dad right now.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's got to be so hard knowing how to give her that space, but still be there for her when she needs you.
It was a big learning curve because she's more of my strong-willed, strong personality child. So she's very unfiltered when she wants to. And I'm happy that she's comfortable enough with me. But when I'm being annoying to her, or when, there's just days where you feel like you're not doing anything right as a parent sometimes when they're a teenager. And it's not just her. I've talked to so many of her friends' parents. But then, then you realize, okay, you might annoy them and they may, not want you around at times, but they need you and want you around. Because like you said, if I have to miss one of her games because I'm traveling, or, it just crushes her. And she always wants me available and to know that I'm right there. So as much as, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode, there are days you literally feel like you're not doing anything right when raising teenagers, just days. I mean, I think the teenage years are so fun, but she got on Amazon by herself. She didn't tell me, didn't ask. And she ordered that necklace for me that has a picture of her as a baby. And then on the back, it says, "I love you, Mom." And I'm like, okay, she needs me. She still needs me, I was the sweetest. And she got herself the matching one. So I'm like, oh, look at me getting all teared up.
Yeah.
It's even extra special when they're when they're so upfront about how much you annoy them.
Yeah. I was actually just a few minutes ago making a post for Instagram because I was reading through this and before we got on here, and all of our thoughts as moms, all of our inner thoughts, all the things we worry about, am I doing it right? Am I making her strong enough to stick up for herself and, in situations like that, but also teaching her how to be kind and, thoughtful. And am I putting enough pressure on her to do things that schoolwork and stuff like that? But again, you don't want to put too much pressure to where they're too hard on themselves and, stuff like that. It's so hard as a mom to know where to draw the line.
And I don't think you ever figure it out as a mom.
Yeah.
And every one of your kids are different. If you have more than one child, they're never the same. So one child you think you have it finally figured out. And then here comes the next child behind him. And it's totally different. I had discipline. My girl's different, completely different. I couldn't be stern with one, but I had to be stern with the other. And so you almost feel like to some degree, you're starting all over with every kid. But
yeah,
it's so true. And it's, yeah, and then I think that's why we have such parent guilt, is because you never really know the answer to those things. Like, you do the best you can. And I think that's what we have to focus on here, is like, do the best you can. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to upset our kids. And that's one thing I've really, learned as a mom too, is just being vulnerable with your kids. Like, if you lose it on them and you yell and you get upset, or you say things you wish you hadn't said. Like, I've said things to my youngest, won't name names, things like, "You're driving me crazy right now. Like, stop it." Well, that really hurts them. And she doesn't forget anything I ever tell her. So, but it's then to go back to him and say, "I'm so sorry. I'm human too. Like, parents aren't perfect. And please forgive me. And I shouldn't have talked to you that way. And I shouldn't have said this." But showing them that vulnerability it's so important.
Yeah. Because that is perfectly normal to lose it sometimes. We all do it. Unfortunately, it's so hard not to, especially when you're in the moment, to just take a deep breath and,
I know it is hard, especially when, like, I have to pray every single morning. Like, "Lord, please fill me with an abundance of patience," because especially right now, I don't know what it is with our dynamic, but we just like irritate each other right now. And I don't mean to do it. And I know she doesn't mean to do it. And, sometimes I even tell her, like our relationship is getting so sweet and amazing that I think the enemy is like trying to attack us. So we have to be very aware of that. That happened to us Sunday when we were going to church. We fought all the way to church and we got into the parking lot. I was like, "Honey, the enemy wants us to fight because we're getting ready to go to church. So let's not give him the victory. Take a deep breath and start over. Let's start our day over." But
you know what my motto is? I should be wearing my hat right now that you got me. Not today. Like, when those moments start, especially because I do feel like Sunday mornings on the way to church, that's almost every time I get into a fight on the way to church.
Oh,
I'm like, I started saying to him, I'm like, "Not today, Satan. We're not doing this." And so then we both usually laugh or whatever, and he like rolls his eyes at me. But
it's
like,
true.
Yeah, it is.
So Allie and I, we walked into church and we met my oldest, so Kaylee, and her husband, and they were bickering because I don't know. And I started laughing and I walked up to him and I go, "You guys, you're not the only ones fighting this morning." And then I said, "The enemy wants this." And she was like, "You're right." Like, "Yeah, I know." And it's just true. When you're getting ready to go get filled with, God's word, he's gonna, and even just like in relationships in general, Allie and I have such a great relationship right now. She's being the last one at home. We have so much one-on-one time, but we fuss as much as we love each other. But I've been stopping and making us pray together. If we fight or something, I'm like, "We're going to stop and pray," because I'm not going to, and sometimes she's like, "Okay, Mom." And then we hold hands and pray. And other times she's like, "I don't want to pray right now. I'm too mad at you."
I'm not praying. That's funny. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm already starting to irritate Emma. And I can't eat right. I can't breathe right. Everything I do. "Why are you doing it like that?" I'm like, "Seriously, kid, get over it and have some respect."
I know, seriously. Well, that's the other thing too that's so hard as a parent, is like, you want to, like with my girls, it's like, okay, I want to show them grace for if they're having a bad day or if they're on their period and they're moody or whatever it is. I want to show them some grace, but at the same time, like, how much grace do you show versus how, then does it turn into disrespect if you consistently show too much grace? And then, there has to be discipline. And I'll even tell, like, my youngest, I'll tell her, like, I should have some consequence right now for the way you're acting and the way you're talking to me, but I'm going to show you grace, because God shows us grace every day, but I'm not a doormat. And so don't take advantage of this grace, but it still is a hard balance. So I agree with that. And the girls will just have to call Aunt Trish when Mom gets home and they need a break.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I'm sure there will be plenty of times that will be happening in the future.
Real quick, side note, have you seen the Instagram reels where kids call their aunts or uncles or their grandparents and they're like, I failed this math test. Will you sign it for me? I saw the cutest one yesterday. It was this little girl. She called her uncle. And you could tell he just didn't have kids yet. Anyway, he's like, yeah, girl, I got you. But don't you rat me out, Don't you tell your mom I did this. And it's just funny to have like that, that family or team of people.
Yeah. To help them with that.
In your life. Yeah.
Because we do need that sometimes. Like,
yeah.
Every now and then you need some. Yeah.
So this episode is inspired a bit by my pastor's sermon, Pastor Phil, and we go to Abundant Life. And he preached a sermon, I think just a couple years ago. It was called, What Does the Bible Say About Discipline and Christian Parenting? And what he talks about, so that's the sermon series. I actually think that was the name of the actual sermon, but he does this amazing job in the sermon talking about the different stages of your child and how to prepare them basically for adulthood. And so we're going to post the link if you want to go listen to it. It's really, really good. So one of his quotes in the sermon was, the goal of discipline and Christian parenting is to aim our children toward God so they become godly people, not just good people. And he kind of talks through that. And it's such could be a sensitive topic for some people because some people have a really hard time letting go or parenting out of fear or like being the hovering parent. And, I have personally seen having adult children, how the different parenting can impact your child as they become adults. And we can get into that. But what I love about this sermon is that he talks about how, like when they're like babies, I think it's like, or when they're young, like birth to like 9, if I remember right, it's called the age of protection, where you're teaching them to submit to authority and be obedient and humble. And then it goes in to the next stage of like 10 to 16, which is you're preparing them, so you're preparing them for freedom, and we'll get into this a little more. And then the third stage is 17 to 20. So he says that, that last year that they're home, you should give them total freedom to see how they use that freedom before they go off to become adults. And I think that's so wise, but it's hard for some people because you want to be able to still coach them while they're home, opposed to like sending them off to college or into life to start a job or whatever they're going to do. And you don't have that opportunity as much. So I would encourage you guys to go listen to his sermon. It's amazing. And then we'll jump into the different, because I think Megan and I think we probably have a little bit different parenting styles.
I'm the hover.
I don't think there's any right or wrong, for real.
I'm not afraid to admit that.
Well, and I'm more like relaxed and laid back as far as like, I don't hover, and I maybe to a fault, like to where I let them have too much freedom. But I will say this, when Grace went to college, her friends who weren't allowed to make mistakes at home, or they went to college and some of them, it was like, woo, freedom. Grace told me, she was like, Mom, I didn't feel like I had this huge transition because you allowed me this freedom to make mistakes so when I got to school, it wasn't like I just wanted to dive into like partying and going out all the time and being like a little rebellious. Not that her friends were, but, and maybe a couple of them were, but I may be too relaxed to a fault. But see, Dad and my mom were very relaxed. But I just remember like I wanted to respect the fact that they gave me so much freedom. So I never wanted to do anything to like give them reason to take that freedom away from me. So I think but not all kids are the same. So I'm sure someone gives their kids too much freedom, they take advantage of the freedom. And, and I'm sure there are kids that need to have parents that hover. I mean, my youngest, I may need to hover with her, honestly. So I don't think there's right or wrong. I just think you do have to have that time where you kind of start to let them be free and independent to some degree.
Yeah. And I don't know how I will be, to be honest, in the future when they're older, and old enough to start doing things on their own. Right now, I feel like, so I have an almost 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and that was, which we can get into and like another whole nother podcast about like the things that happened to me. But I was around that age when, I spent the night at a friend's grandpa's house and was touched in ways that I shouldn't have been. And so I think that things happen to us that also make us how we parent too. And so they are at that age that I'm like, they won't be left with someone that I mean, my mom even knew them. They were friends of the family, but I can't leave them with someone that I just don't completely 1,000% trust,
Okay.
So I think that things will probably change because I agree. Like my mom hovered to a point with some stuff, but then, with some stuff didn't. And then I also had like my cousin and my aunt and my grandma who also like helped me. It's like when my mom wouldn't let me listen to anything but Christian music, they would go and buy me the Shania Twain CDs and those CDs and stuff that she wouldn't let me listen to, and then I would listen to them with them or have them in my room. So I guess, it did tend to cause me to hide some things, but I also never snuck out. I never,
Yeah.
did anything too crazy. So yeah, but I don't know where I was going with that.
You get me all choked up over here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I have a thing hidden, so I can't see you right now.
Gosh, that Italian blood of mine is like literally boiling just here.
I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. No, but it's true because Tony was and still is, and Grace is 20. He hovers like big time. But something like that happened to him.
Yeah.
So I don't get it at all, but I understand why. If something would have happened like that to me, you can know, that would have changed my parenting style 1,000,000%. I did work in the child protection center and I learned a lot, too much. And I think it's better to be safe than sorry. I think it's so much smarter to like not let your kids spend the night, period, and have zero guilt about it, opposed to being like, oh, I don't want to like keep my kids from that stuff and then something, because it's a lifelong effect.
Yeah.
Has lifelong effect.
That's the other place where it's really hard to know where to draw the line too, because some of those sleepovers with my friends and even family and were some of the highlights of your childhood. So it's so hard to take that away from your kids, kind of. I mean, when I'm not letting them, but it does kind of take things like that away from them and some of the highlights that they could be making away from them. But it's also like you just can't trust anyone.
No,
unfortunately.
I mean, like if the girls have friends that have, I hate to say this, but older brothers, I don't let them know. And then if I don't 100% know and am super comfortable with them having a dad in the house, they won't. So yeah, I totally understand why you would be a hovering parent after that.
Yeah. We all have different parenting styles, and yeah, I think that's great though. I think that makes it's good that we're all different. And
yeah, it's, and the thing too that's hard about that is I am so relaxed as a mom with Grace because we only had a couple incidents where we had to have a couple come to Jesus, as a mom and daughter, but literally only a couple. And I know there's things she did that I don't even know about. And Grace, if you're listening, I don't want to know. It's too late. That's the past. I don't need to know. No, but Tony being the hovering parent, there were times where I'm like, I hope she doesn't mistake like me for not caring as much or not loving her as much. And I told her, I was like, honey, I would literally, I hate to say it, I would literally hurt someone, that hurt you. Or I'm not kidding. Like, I know that's not very Christian or biblical, but so don't mistake my, my little more casual, laid back parenting style with, but I really don't think I'm going to be able to be like that with Allie. I say that she's actually a lot more chill and calm than I thought she was going to be as a teenager. She really is. She's very level headed, and she has some friends that I'm like, oh girl. And I tell her all the time, like, I'm so glad you don't do that or don't act like that. And I keep telling her all the time, like, I'm really proud of you. You're so mature. You're so grown up and you get yourself ready. And I just try to like talk her up a lot because she was such a hard little girl, so strong willed. that I think and that's the thing I regret too is, saying things to her that were true, but I should have never said them. Like, why are you so difficult? And why do you have to act like that all the time? And those are things I deeply regret saying to her, because then it put this idea in her head that that's who I think she is. And it's not. It was in that moment. And so I've had to really just like try to reverse that by constantly giving her praises.
Yeah, words hurt, but we just have to remind ourselves that we aren't perfect, and just rely on God to, help heal those wounds, because we all say things like, I think about this all the time as a Christian. I know there are so many, like I have friends and family and stuff that like have been hurt so bad by Christians. And sometimes people say they're Christians, but they don't act like Christians. But also, like, I try to act like a Christian, but we are not perfect. That is why we need Jesus, because I make mistakes. I gossip when I shouldn't be gossiping. There's so many things that I do that I know that I shouldn't have done. And so that's why I need Jesus. And that's why I have to apologize and move along, because, that's why Jesus died for us, so that we can be forgiven for those things. And when we say things that are hurtful to other people, and just, have to pray that God heals those wounds and helps us both move past that.
So I got that idea from Priscilla Schreier that we, have putting prayers up in your closet. So I've taped, yes. I write prayers out for the girls and just different prayers, and I tape them on the back of my closet door.
Yeah.
But there's one that I actually found years ago. It's this piece of paper, and I don't even remember where I found it, but it's a prayer for mothers, or maybe just parents in general. I can't remember, but so it's taped up on my closet door also. And I don't remember the whole prayer, but I just remember the first part of it. It says, Lord, help make up for all my iniquities as a parent, all my failures, all the things I do wrong, like wash over those that, my kids won't remember them, and the enemy won't use those against us in our relationship. And I love the prayer so much.
Yeah. You'll have to send me that, and we'll have to share that.
I will. I'll take a picture of it.
Yeah.
We
love that movie. Like, Emma will ask to watch it on the regular. The Forge that she's in, and then also War Room. Have you seen War Room?
No, I need to watch it.
It's really good. I made Matt sit down and watch us. Yeah. It's really good.
Allie even watched Forge twice.
Yeah.
It twice. She's not
Emma wants to watch it all the time.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It just has so many good life lessons. And
yeah, you should definitely watch War Room. It's really good too.
I've heard that, and I need to just do it.
Because that's the one where she has the prayer room, like where she actually creates the prayer room, and
she talks about it.
Yeah.
I've been watching her on YouTube when I'm in my car a lot. She's so powerful.
She is. I love her. I know. She's just with authority too. It's like,
oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm learning to pray with authority, especially over the girls and just certain things going on in life. And I don't know if there's any better teacher than her.
No, she's incredible. That's a wrap on today's episode. Remember, you didn't raise her to stay small. You raised her to be strong. So take a deep breath. Trust the love you poured into her. Trust that God is the archer, and let her step into who God wants her to become. We'll see you next time right here where brave moms raise brave daughters. Bye.